Hey everybody, welcome back to the K2N Online Paddle School. We are back here on YouTube, and we have another episode of the K2N blog. Same old going on here at K2N Hernando. We are working diligently towards our OC6 race. For many, it will be their first OC6 race ever. But a lot of people have spent a lot of time working on their individual skills. So when we're inserting them into the team boat, we have some really fantastic results lately for us here at the club. There's a lot to be said about spending some time in individual boats, working on your individual skills, pinpointing weaknesses and making them your strengths. And then when we put people into a team dynamic, there's really special things that happen. Getting too lost in team dynamics all the time, it's easy to just blame other people, oh, only if they were stronger and such. But working on yourself, right? Having that spotlight in individual canoes is invaluable. So we're out here working on our skills, getting better, very exciting times as a coach and for us as a club. In other club news, we had two paddlers that are racing with an organization from Jacksonville over at the Queen Lily in Hawaii. Ray and Gina have been paddling 2 or 3 years with us now and are some of our best paddlers. They take it very seriously. They're very passionate about the sport. They are a showcase and a model for us in the club. If you want to be a high-end racer, we can make you one no matter your fitness background or your age. If you are passionate about it, we have every resource to make you good. Very cool having them in Hawaii. Gina was wearing her K2N shirt. A lot of people have come up to her and interacted with her, found out that she's from here and interacts with me directly. So very cool, you know, people from New Zealand and Hawaii and California and such. It's really neat showing the overall reach of the online school and how many people we try to help in the world. Ray was texting me and he's like, man, they think I'm like a professional because I'm saying the same things that you say, but I'm still a novice. And I'm like, no, man, it is really cool to showcase how advanced the tactics are that we have here in the middle of nowhere, right? You wouldn't think that Hernando, Florida is the cutting edge of information for paddling, but if you just listen to the advice that we have here, it puts you ahead of the curve comparatively to many, many organizations in the world. And that is why the online school is so popular in a sense, right? Being able to broadcast these ideas no matter where you're from. If you listen to these ideas, you are going to be on the cutting edge of information. And that comes into our topic today, which is being a paddling historian, right? And so what does that mean? Understanding the past can help you understand the future. And for myself personally, I am still a young paddler, right? But I have been around in the game in multiple different universes of paddling for over a decade now. And so my paddling age is a little bit older than my physical age in a sense. But on top of that, I have interacted with enough paddlers that have been from different eras that I understand paddling technique for the last 30 years. And this is an important distinction because you have ideas that become obsolete, right? You have people that do an idea and then you have a split. You have people that evolve from this idea and they no longer do it. Or you have people that keep with this idea over a period of time. And being a historian, I look at everything. I look at all kinds of paddling because I want to be the fastest that I possibly can, right? So there are points in history where there are these splits and there are specific people that go through this split and don't go through the split. And then we add in another 5 or 10 years. Where are they now, right? And more than likely, by making an adjustment and evolving, people get better. The people that don't evolve, they stay with the same movement ideology and they've already reached the ceiling on it, and over a period of time, they remain there indefinitely. And so this is what makes the online school very unique. It's what makes me unique when I interact with people. It does not matter what your paddling background is. We can have a conversation about technique that dates back before I was born, and we can have a very intricate conversation about it because I'm fascinated by it, and I have sat and listened at length on how people used to paddle. And understanding these movement ideologies, what was the reason that this became the most prominent way to paddle, and what was the reason that it did not change over time, and what was the change that made it better over time. The more you can take in this information, the more you can understand paddling. Introduce that idea to canoe paddling, team canoe paddling, kayak paddling, surf ski paddling, sprint racing, long distance racing, sup paddling, prone paddling, whatever the thing is, there are so many crossovers from all of them, and there is a detailed history amongst all of them. Many people that do not evolve are not historians. They don't understand the past, so they can't make a change for the future, right? And this is one of the most important contexts that allows the online school to be as well thought out as it is. Because I understand obsolete technique, and I understand why people would want to do that or used to do that, and I understand why you could win world titles with that back at a certain timeline in history. But as things evolve, that does not hold up the stand of time. Why? What has changed? Why has it changed? When did these paddlers make this adaptation? What are the generation of paddlers that don't even know this older stuff of paddling? Or when you started, you ended up at a club that still paddles like it's the 90s, right? How are all of these things related to each other? And so some of my favorite are, like, you have professional racers around the world that are like 50 or 40 years old who are still on top of their game. They go to races, they win it, they still make the top 3 or they make a top 10 appearance amongst all age categories, right? You have a showcase of what are they doing now. Most of the time, they look just like the other racers that are around them, give or take little things, right? So it shows that they have evolved over time. But if they've been paddling 20 or 30 years, it's very easy to go back in time and find them paddling 20 or 30 years ago. And I have some detailed photos of these paddlers from 20 years ago winning a state championship, winning a world title, and they look completely different than they do today. And it's hard to track times, but some of these racers are faster in their 40s than they were in their 20s, just because they had the youth and the physical fitness advantages of a younger body. Because they were paddling with bad movement means that they weren't really unlocking their true technique. And the only reason that they are relevant today and that we know their names and we watch their videos and we buy their products is because they evolved at a certain point. So if you have professionals that are only relevant today because of this evolution, but you have people that are stuck in the past, well, my club does it this way and I was taught that and we never change and we will never change. You have people that are on this timeline, and as a historian, that was really successful 25 years ago, or 15 years ago, or 10 years ago, or 5 years ago, but it's not going to stand the test of time. You're going to open the door for other people to pass you, and if you evolve, you can stay relevant, and if you don't, you're going to get swept up in this current. The first time I had this fork appear for me, right, is about 5 years ago during COVID. I was watching some paddlers and I saw them arguing on Instagram of all places. And the ideology that I had bought into was put the blade in at your feet, out at your hip, put the whole blade in, find pressure at the foot, right? As a historian, I've already done this. And so there's some of you that are listening that are like, hey, that's how I paddle today, right? I've been listening to this ideology for the last half decade and I've never evolved, right? And there were some Polynesian paddlers that were making fun of this ideology. Man, Americans paddle so stupid. This is how Americans paddle. And then they showed some pictures of rotation, right? And watching these Polynesian paddlers incorporate rotation, positive blade angle, they reach way up to the front, they take a longer stroke behind them. It opened my mind. Oh my goodness. People don't do one thing and go fast. There's other things that they can do, right? And this was my split in the road. If I had not taken the road to something that was different, I would be in the past. You wouldn't know who I was. I would still be the guy like, well, we just got to put the whole blade in this way because that's how I was taught. This means that there's no advancement, there's no learning, and this relevancy comes with that. And so this was one of my first steps for canoe paddling specifically to become a paddling historian. Why do we do it this way? What was before that? What was before that? And just going down this rabbit hole and understanding these ideas. For canoe paddling, it's slow in the water and fast in the air. The era before that was fast in the water, slow in the air. The modern era is fast in the water, fast in the air, right? The optimization over time reveals itself, right? Being urgent at every possible movement gives you more performance potential, right? And so you can see how some of these ideologies change over time. You can go fast in the water, slow in the air, and win a world title before 2010, right? This was the most common way to paddle, but if you try that today, there is just not enough of breathing room to be able to do this when people match you in the water and take more strokes per minute than you. The tools changing over time, being gigantic blades and now becoming much smaller. Looking at the paddle crafts and how the boat shape changes and the optimization of each ama and how the optimization of the hulls change over time, right? There are so many things that begin to adapt, and the more that you can understand the world of paddling and what has come before your perception of this world, the better you can be equipped to advance into the future. And that's what K2N is here for, right? It is my job to navigate all of this, put these ideas together and present it to you all. But the more interested you are in broadcasting, paddling ideology, and paddling technique, there is an expectation that you too are a historian. If something is referenced from 15 years ago and we still do it the same today, you may have missed out on one of these splits in the road that has put you behind, right? And your position to broadcast information is highly limited if you can't see this spiderwebbing effect over time. Always being a student of the game, learning as much as you possibly can, this equips you to be a better broadcast of information. And if you are not this person, you have to be very careful that every time you broadcast old information, these are ideologies that linger on. It's like the ghost of a world champion who's long dead. Sometimes we need to put these ideas to rest because there's a new age right here in front of us that we can take advantage of. Thank you all so much for checking out the video. We got more practice footage here at Lake Hernando. Hope you guys enjoyed that. Thank you guys so much for the ongoing support, and we'll see you all next week for the next vlog episode. Hey everybody, welcome back to Lake Hernando. So this is our Saturday practice. We had 4 ladies, 2 guys. We did our long course. We were just about 7 miles an hour on this one. We were 6.9 miles an hour. Water's a little bit shallow here in Florida. It's been brutally hot, lots of evaporation, and not a lot of rain. We need a couple hurricanes to come through and fill our lakes back up. And they're in the steering seat. And super flat, super ideal conditions. Relatively cool for Florida. It was under 80 degrees this morning, which was very ideal, and definitely a good run. Everybody's logging in miles, and overall just getting better. And the more that everybody individually improves, we can see in the team boats here a lot of these times starting to improve with different configuration of teams, which is awesome. You know, the advancement of the team is bringing your lowest skill level paddlers up, right? That's the biggest rise to an organization, more so than the rich getting richer, in a sense, with you know, your good paddlers continuing. Labor Day weekend, of course, coming in. We're about a mile from the finish. We got this guy in the canal checking his motor or something, and he is going just fast enough to be annoying, right? It's like, hey man, can you like gun it or slow down or what? But good practice, you know, paddling in live combat. We have a little opening, we take it, he ends up yielding, thank goodness. And overall, you know, just a typical weekend on Lake Hernando. So my Chatterjack team, I am steering an OC6 again this year, and they paddle about 70 strokes per minute for the entire Chatterjack, which is about 4 hours in paddling duration. We're at 3 hours, 53 minutes. So I have to practice. I have to practice paddling at a higher rate. Most of them come from marathon canoe paddling, which has typically a higher stroke rate. And so doing some intervals lately, doing some multiple miles at plus 70 strokes per minute just to get a feel for it. In an individual canoe, it is much harder to hold these higher stroke rates because the canoe is not going as fast. In this OC6 at Chatterjack, boat going 10 miles an hour, right? So your time in the water changes, the physics change, and so holding a higher stroke rate is a lot easier in a sense. In a solo canoe, I'm only going 7.5 miles an hour here. So my time in the water is much different than going 10 miles an hour. But it helps with the entry, moving fast urgently, the recovery, and the exit. This was one of the biggest learning curves for me last year going into a high stroke rate boat, was when to exit and how to go through the recovery to stay with them. If that movement is inefficient, you will fall out of synchronization every time, and you'll think, hey, it's their fault, but really, it's yours. You have to adapt and change. So just like being a paddle historian, I am able to paddle in a number of different ways, right? There are ways that I choose for performance in each different vessel, but it's still good to go out there and, you know, practice and get the feel for it. Second set here is the same half mile duration, but the stroke rate drops to 63. So this is more of an ideal stroke rate for an outrigger canoe, right? It gives me time to push my top hand all the way down, gives me time to go through all the motion with my legs and my hips, take a long stroke, and to let the boat glide, right? So my distance per stroke goes from 8 feet something to over 10.5 feet, holding this at 63 strokes per minute. There's a lot of people that'd be like, man, Robert, 63 strokes per minute, that is ungodly fast. And really it's not. I'm still getting 10.5 feet per stroke. My top hand goes all the way to the gunnel, to my knee. There's not really a longer stroke that I can physically take, right? And so this is the idea, is you take a complete full stroke, then turn over to the next one. The faster you're going, the more strokes per minute you can obtain, right? So I'm at 7.8 miles per hour here as an average speed. if I was only going 7.4 miles per hour. That means that if the stroke was the exact same, it means that the stroke rate would drop. And so these are the ideas that we're looking at, is if you are struggling to get above 6 miles an hour, yes, 60 strokes per minute may feel like a lot, but once you get into this higher end speed where the boat is moving quicker, things happen faster, and it's up to you to be able to move faster with it. If you are one-dimensional, unable to move with your canoe, this is always going to be a battle and a struggle for your overall skill level. So it's something to keep in mind. 63 strokes per minute, this works with the boat, and obviously it's a little bit faster than the higher rate. Thank you guys so much for checking out the video. If you have any questions or any video ideas, please leave a comment. Thank you so much for the ongoing support, and we'll see you all next week for the next vlog episode.